All right, well, lots happening here. Um, like normal, I didn't get back to this for a couple days because I had some other stuff to take care of. But we got a lot of stuff happening here. I've got the driver rear here all apart. I had to remove this control arm. This is what happens when you hook to these and you try to either pull it on a trailer or you're planning to tow it or something like that. I did get the sway bar removed. Did have some aftermarket poly bushings, but we're going to be putting the Hotchkiss sway bars on here. I made a list of some other stuff that I want to get. I'm probably going to order the brake hoses, and here's my helper coming. So the brakes actually look pretty good. I would really like to put some control arms onto this, but I think at this time I am just going to get everything cleaned up. I'm going to anti-seize all these bolts. That way I can get the coilovers installed, and we can actually focus on the more important stuff of getting the actual drivetrain down in this thing, getting the interior taken care of, replacing all these seals, anything that needs to be taken care of, right? Does that work? So that's where we're at. I'm going to be taking the other side down and apart also. What I'm doing is I'm just pulling all the bolts on both sides here. I'm going to get anti-seize on everything, and then we're going to go over getting our coilovers together. All right, we have, and here you go, you can see here's the sway bar we got off. Somebody actually, when they put these in, they did put anti-seize on the bolts. You know, great job there. No clue who that was. One of the previous owners, I guess, when they installed that. So that worked out good. The front does have poly bushings in the control arms. So that means hopefully we have some anti-seize on that stuff also. All right. Let's get down to business here. That bolt for the inner control arms did have a good bit of rust on it. You can see it down here. I got that sucker out. I'm going to work on getting them cleaned up. And then I'm going to, like I said, get anti-seize on everything. I'm probably going to open up a fresh one here just because I feel it's needed for this car. The brakes were actually in pretty good shape here. These looked like they were the plated ones at one time. So I'm probably just going to wire brush them down a little bit. They'll work for now. So like I said, there's a lot of stuff that we're going to need to get everything together so that we can have a motor down in here. Hopefully we can still get the fuel system stuff taken care of. It seems like some of that stuff might be getting backed up a little bit as far as orders are coming. I wouldn't say orders. I would say supplies are getting a little harder to find. I'm going to dig out the nicer rack. I'm going to do everything I can just to try to get this stuff together. I was going to swap out the whole thing here. Being that arm is on the one side, I'm probably just going to steal an arm off of this. And then I'm going to put it on the car. That way I can get that stuff together. We can get these things out of the box and we can get them installed. All right. Well, the go everywhere stuff. We're working on getting everything coated on the coilover right now. You can tell these are labeled. So this is left rear. I got the control arm replaced. I have the bolts all back in. That stuff's all coated with anti-seize. So right now what I'm doing is I'm working on getting the coilover prepped. Some people don't like the thought of doing this. I tried adjusting these things and sometimes they don't move. Being of the cost of these, and I decide I want to readjust these things within the next year or two if this car's not fixed, which let's hope that we don't have that long of a build process. But we're going to get anti-seize on all these, underneath all of these. That way there is some on here, so we can freely adjust this. I'm going to take a measurement also on my other video that I made years back. I'm just going to do a measurement off of that one, and I'm going to install them and just, you know what I mean, that's going to give me an average ride height all the way around the car until I get to the point of adjusting my suspension for test drives, etc., etc. Because we have a lot of stuff to do yet. I mean, you know, the exhaust needs tightened up, all that stuff needs finished. So we're slowly chipping away at this. Anti-seize, anti-seize, anti-seize. I hate to say it. Just get this stuff brushed on here. I'm going to do this with every single coil. That way there's some in here to help keep these collars from moving freely. You know what I mean? Moisture gets in there. I mean, these things are pretty decently built, but you know, sometimes you will end up with some adjustment problems. So a good coat of this stuff, as cheap as it is, helps preserve the coilover so you can make the adjustment. All right, I'm gonna get this done. I'm gonna get everything prepped. It's really easy to install these. There's 4 bolts in the top, or yeah, 4 studs sticking out the top. 3. They go into each hole. You can have a friend tighten that up. Then you have 2 down here on the bottom. Once everything's together, we'll put a little bit of a load on the suspension and jack it up some, and I'll tighten everything down. And then we're going to move on to the other side. I'll show you setting some height here. You know, this stuff is pretty easy. Everything is already loose when it comes new. So I should probably use 2 hands to get that started. I'm going to get that done. I'll show you what my height is and where to measure with a tape measure. But like I said, that's in another video where I did an install on my blue car and adjusted the height. Those were actually a used set, and I did not anti-seize them. So if we have to adjust those, we're still hoping that they work. All right. So in the last video, I just basically, I took the slack out of the spring, and then I tightened these up here on the base. I didn't want to preload on my springs so that they would have full travel, nothing too extra strong. Now, in my video where I mounted these on my last car, I measured here and I had 5 inches between here and here. If you want to do it when the time comes and you want to double check from the top, you can do that. It's basically 13 3/4 inches down to here. So basically, right now we're ready to install this. I'm going to remove these 3 nuts. We'll get it stuck up in. I'm really going to wire brush this down in here on the surface area just a little bit, since we are putting a nice new coil in, and you know, get that stuff out of the way. Okay, well, it doesn't really get much better than this. We actually have our coilovers here installed into the rear, up through. Basically, I just kind of tried to de-web everything. We had pulled everything apart. Obviously, these bolts here never come out. We've got anti-seize on them. I pulled these ones out up here, the torsion bar. These ones came out. They're all anti-seized here on both sides. Everything's done the same on both sides here with the rear suspension. We are probably looking to getting maybe some Russell brake lines. I'm probably going to look into ordering them now. That way I have them to throw on later. Really trying to just get through and accomplish some of the stuff on this car, because we do have some things. A couple small things we're going to add. I'm busy working on making somewhat of a list here so that we can get everything done. Coils. I'm looking into, I think it's lower rear control arms. I want to clean up the front, get my sway bars installed. I got Hatchka sway bars that we are going to be putting on here. I just kind of, you know, cleaned off the surface rust here a little bit on these brakes. We're going to try to utilize them for a little while before we replace them. If we come across something or there's extra money toward the end of the budget, we will probably order all new stuff. I'd like to have, I'd like to have a set of 6-piston for the front of this, or a set of 4-piston. But stuff is really hard to get a hold of right now. Back ordered and everything else being, well, that's the world of today. Now, spider web thing. That everything is now together back here. I'm going to check out my rear sway bar, see if it needs anything where it needs some cleaning up right here, and maybe work on getting, you know, these installed right here. I'll probably end up having to clean these off. Probably end up taking these apart. I would really like to order new ones, and probably just, you know, pass these on to somebody else if they want to use them and take the time to clean them up. That's totally going to be up to them. I'm not quite sure yet what I'm going to do, so I might just order new ones. Not sure. Best way to say that. So I'm going to get the rear tires on. We're going to be working on getting the front coilovers here ready to be installed. I'm going to be digging out a bunch of stuff. I'm dropping the whole lower suspension member with the rack. I have a nicer rack that I'm going to be putting on. Just cleaner, you know what I mean? I think I got brackets right there that aren't rusty. You know, just basically, you know, go over this thing. It looks like that's all nice original paint there. Everything's looking pretty good over here. Pull the sway bar off because I'm not going to be utilizing that. Double check the bushings and the control arms. You know, they're old. They got some age on them. So we might be replacing them also. But yeah, I mean, the rear's done. We have the suspension back underneath this thing. Here's a real quick look. I need to get some cleaning. Get to cleaning some stuff up in here. I think there's some light. You can see we got our camber caster plates. And they're all emboldened in here very nicely into the rear. Man, can't wait to get all of this stuff onto this car. It's just there's so much here. All right, on to the front. I'm probably going to cut this video here and call this, I think this is part 3. But anyway, comment, subscribe, let me know. I did want to take a note. Yeah, everything is anti-seized down in underneath here on these coils. You can see a little bit here. I'll probably drop these down a little bit here before I get done, and I'll lock them back up also and double check my height. Muffin came to visit. So I got a mess to clean up and some parts to dig out for tomorrow because I'm going to get this front suspension done on this thing. You know, it's one step at a time. I really am trying to get this the body itself done in between everything else that I'm doing. I'm trying to have some drive to get my own stuff done. I still got some other things that need to be taken care of outside of this. So I mean, this is turning into like a, I don't know, like a 3 or 4 day coilover removal and install video, but it gives a chance for me to show you guys some stuff. And with that, we're just going to close it out. See you next one.